I'm curious because we do hear a lot now. It's about culture, and you hear a lot of folks saying, we're going to build a data culture, whether we're building a data driven culture, a data informed culture, a culture of data, all kinds of different words. But it feels like it's an easy buzzword for us to throw around. So I'm curious, when we think like tactically, how do we go about building that culture? When we have people that don't understand the technology, or they feel threatened either by the technology or for their own job security or other elements, what are your best pieces of advice to how do you go about building that culture that we all recognize is so important?
I can jump in. So for at least for us, it's been, you got to do it very slowly, right? Culture doesn't change overnight. And so for the journey, I find that solving problems, as I said earlier, making it easier for somebody to do their job is the best way to get them on board, because you give them a little, now they want, oh, well, if you could do that for me, maybe you could do this, or what about that? And if they find that you as a resource, your team, to be able to reach out to when they've got a problem, and just maybe you might be able to solve this for us. And I think the problems start to get more sophisticated, which allows you to go beyond just helping them find the data or produce a report, but to really start answering some of those analytical questions. Because otherwise, vendors are fabulous at selling tools as well to try and do that. And in many cases, there are opportunities to do that for them within the organization. And I think that's really what's going to start to drive that change across the entire company, is that people start relying on the data to help answer questions and make it easier for themselves to do their job.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because when you think about trying to partner with business or whomever, who doesn't love somebody to come in and say, I'm here to make your job or your life easier, right? We love that. So I'm always willing to partner with somebody like that. Ritika, it sounded like you wanted to add a few thoughts.
Sure. When you're trying to change culture, I agree that you have to make sure that you do it and engage slowly. What we've seen often is that culturally what it means is you have to have a view that what you're doing is going to affect all parts of the organization, starting at the very top and also at the bottom and all layers in between. One of the most fundamental things it means is you got to be okay with you're going to fail. And it's how you treat the teams in adversity of that failure that is going to matter. If the team understands that the track they're on is not going to work, as long as they fail quickly, learn, and reset, that's okay. And that's why it means that at all levels you have to have buy-in, because when you're looking at something like the data and the artificial intelligence components, you are changing all elements of your processes, all elements of how you handle data, all elements of the different silos that exist within the organization. You're not going to get everything right at first pass. So, be okay with the failure as long as you course correct. The second thing that we see a lot is, because of all those elements of change that happen, we see centers of excellence popping up. I mean, there are different models that I can tell you that we see between different customers, but one of the most predominant ones is you're starting something new, get a center of excellence, get someone who has done this before to be able to help you accelerate and learn from the failures that they've experienced either with other customers or to be able to help accelerate. And that's one of the things that we do is we help our customers set up these centers of excellence so that, we'll bring best practices from everyone else. We'll accelerate what that means for you, but you're still going to have failures. The start small, make sure you have something tangible to show, and then expand upon that versus starting with your hardest problem. So that's kind of what we see is really kind of that cultural element of at all layers, and starting to establish a center of excellence to be able to help those and the different lines of businesses across an organization to start scaling out.
Yeah, I think your center of excellence point is really interesting because, whether it's in a consultative standpoint, with IBM, or if you're in an organization, you've got individuals that have to do things they haven't done before. So this need to upskill people and educate them and equip them with the capabilities that they can be successful. And to your point, it doesn't mean they won't fail. but we're equipping them with the right tools and skills and techniques that they can become successful ultimately. May, did you want to add any additional thoughts on this?
I mean, I agree with both of what they said, and the key word here is partner. Whenever I go into any department, I go, oh, we're your partners. We're bringing value with good data, and how I want them to see the data office. That this, as a data officer, we really need to partner with them and help them do their job better. And one of the things that my coach keeps telling me, that you got to be constantly talking to people to make sure that this culture is, everybody's aware of that culture. You're always teaching up people. And that's it's a continuous it's a journey. To me, I see it as a journey to get to that data culture. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a few months. It takes more. But what I noticed is, I think when we get the people, instead of trying to just teaching them or talking about what we do, we really got people in workshops and from all levels of the organization, and kind of just talk about data, what they think, and how, everybody is in the organization is really either using data or creating data. So essentially, you're either a data creator or a data customer. So with that, they realize that, oh my God, the whole day I'm working constantly with data. And that's where, the data culture kind of kicks in, because they understand how everything revolves around it. And then we are here to help them use it right.
And I know I like, May, that you had mentioned this establishing relationships across the organization. And oftentimes when I hear about the bias or the ethics component of incorporating that into this, we talk a lot about diversity of perspectives, whether that means your background or your level of expertise. And so maybe we can talk a little bit about the different types of people and the importance of diversity and what that means, and incorporating this into this process of culture change. And maybe, Ritika, if you've got some thoughts, you can kick us off on that one.
Yeah, we fundamentally believe without diverse backgrounds, without diverse perspectives of how people were educated or how they were brought up, you don't have diversity in how you actually de-bias a lot of the AI that even exists out there. I'll give you a couple of data points from my personal experience. Some of the best data scientists in my organization do not hold technical degrees. They have learned how to code on their own. They have learned how to do the technology components on their own. And this goes back to a big part of what you do in data and AI is rooted in really understanding the outcome and understanding and having that emotional intelligence aspect of it to understand how the data relates to what the outcomes you're trying to drive and what you need to do in between there. And that means that it isn't just about the technology. We just spent our whole time talking about the cultural aspects of things. That means that, you need that diversity of background. You need that diversity of thought. And, some of the best leaders have come from degrees that have been like non-traditional from a technology standpoint, from upbringings where, people don't even have traditional degrees in some cases. We invest a lot in P-Tech where, we take people out of high school and we train them, we kind of give them the background, they shadow a lot of our engagements, and then they join our teams. And so that diversity, I believe, brings a lot to the table when you're trying to solve complex problems and really de-bias what exists out there in the world.
That's great. Thank you for that. And I agree. I think, the more programs we can get people with non-traditional backgrounds, the better. I look at some of the demographics of women in the women in analytics community, and it's really hard to even bundle people into groups, because even for industry and background and educational background, it is so diverse, which I think is absolutely amazing. So that's really encouraging to see different initiatives kind of push more diversity into the space too.